There's a lot to cover about the DCU from the last week, including hints direct or otherwise, as well as something that's practically a confirmation of one project. Make sure to subscribe for these DCU updates and much more. There's a lot to cover, so let's get started. In a reply to a Twitter thread, James Gunn has revealed that all the way back in the year 2000, 23 years ago, on the set of the Scooby-Doo movie that he wrote that came out around that time, he pitched a Plastic Man movie to Warner Brothers, which would star Matthew Lillard, the actor who played Shaggy in that Scooby-Doo movie. Now, this isn't a reference to the DCU or a hint at all, but if nothing else, it does confirm that James Gunn is a fan of Plastic Man, and a long time ago was interested in making a Plastic Man movie. What this means is that there's also a big chance he'll want to again, and that Plastic Man might very well have a project in Chapter 1. If he does, then I would personally go with an animated movie, not a TV show, because he doesn't really have a big enough supporting cast or rogues gallery to support a TV show, but an animated movie might work. Also, because considering stretchy powers have yet to be perfected on screen, I think it's less likely that Plastic Man would be given a live-action project. However, maybe a Plastic Man movie will be the one to do it, although it's more likely to be the MCU Fantastic Four movie. Moving on from Plastic Man, James Gunn liked a tweet of 4 female DC heroes with the caption hoping to see more of them in the future. These 4 heroes are probably the 4 most popular female heroes, aside from Supergirl, who's already confirmed to be appearing in getting her own movie. These characters are Zatanna, Hawkgirl, Batgirl, and Wonder Woman, so let's go over each one individually and what this might mean for the DCU. So let's start with Zatanna. Zatanna has had enough evidence at this point pointing towards her and Justice League Dark, which might completely change my thoughts on Gunn's response to the IGN poll. Initially, I thought when he said, will 5 of 10 do, one of the characters who is disqualified from appearing and will not be appearing in Chapter 1 was Zatanna, because she had not been hinted at at all, aside from a very weak reference to Justice League Dark. Since then, however, there was a much stronger reference to Justice League Dark where Zatanna was in the image alongside Constantine, and then there's this. So I don't really know what to believe anymore, but in my last video I did say that some of these hints might be for Chapter 2, so I think that's what he's talking about. I think this is a hint for the far future where Zatanna will indeed appear, but not until a Chapter 2 Justice League Dark movie, or a Swamp Thing sequel that is a spiritual Justice League Dark movie. So then there's Hawkgirl. She's never been hinted at before by James Gunn, and who knows, maybe one thing that will remain from the DCEU that we don't know about yet is Aldous Hodge's Hawkman, since he was a great adaptation of a character who literally just appeared for the first time a couple of months ago, and if they were to use Hawkman in this universe, I think it'd be a bit weird to debut yet another one so quickly. A couple actors, like a lot of the Suicide Squad members and Peacemaker and Amanda Waller, they are staying. I think you can leave Aldous Hodge as Hawkman as well. Then Hawkgirl could appear in a project of her own alongside Aldous Hodge's Hawkman, and I personally would go with a Hawkman and Hawkgirl TV show, which I could definitely see happening in this universe. Then there's Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, which is technically Barbara's first hint, aside from one time where Gunn said that Barbara and Cassandra Cain are his favorite Batgirls, or that it's kind of like a toss-up between the two, but also, the whole Bat family situation practically confirms she'll at least exist anyway. Damian being Robin means Dick is Nightwing, which does point, it doesn't confirm, but it does point towards Barbara being or having been Batgirl. And then there's a whole other situation similar to the IGN poll, this time however basically confirming that Cassandra Cain will appear in some way in Chapter 1, probably as Batgirl, which in turn proves that Barbara Gordon has been Batgirl in the past, much more so in fact than the other Bat family situation. Barbara will probably appear for the first time in The Brave and the Bold, potentially as Oracle, not Batgirl, and then maybe a Nightwing project, if they are doing that at all, which I think is very likely. I doubt a Birds of Prey project is in consideration, considering both the flop of the first and the fact that both Batgirl and Black Canary potentially being used in a Nightwing and Green Arrow movie would work a lot better, the latter of whom, Black Canary, can even be a titular character in a movie called Green Arrow and Black Canary. So then there's Wonder Woman, who's been hinted at, directly talked about, practically confirmed to appear, and we'll be getting back to her very soon. She has a large story in this video. Before that though, there's quite a few smaller pieces of news to go over, starting with this reply to a question on Twitter. Previously, Gunn said that half of Chapter 1 had been revealed with the announcements, which naturally makes us think that the chapter will consist of 20 projects, and since they also said they'd release for a year, the chapter would probably last around 5 years. But now, Gunn has confirmed that less than half of Chapter 1 has been revealed. However, I don't really think that matters much. Like, it could really just mean that the chapter will now consist of 21 projects instead of 20. It doesn't really change anything. If I'm being honest, the amount of projects that the chapter will have is so far off from meaning anything right now that it's not really relevant yet. But I still wanted to talk about it just so you guys would know. Moving on from that, however, James Gunn replied to this terrible clickbait article where the title was all about how Dave Bautista couldn't give a shit about playing Bane or any other character in the DCU or in the Marvel Universe either. What Dave actually said, and this is something that James Gunn pointed out in his reply, is that he couldn't give a shit about being a movie star, nothing to do with actually playing Bane or being a part of the DCU. Gunn's response to this article made FandomWire delete the tweet of their terrible article, but this does support evidence that Gunn is interested in casting Bautista as Bane, except maybe not. Someone else replied to James Gunn with 2 articles. One of them is of Bautista saying he doesn't think he could play physically demanding roles like Bane anymore, and honestly considering he's 54 years old, yeah, I think we could all understand that. As well as another article saying that he'd be interested to play Lex Luthor specifically in James Gunn's universe. The reason I'm talking about this is because Gunn liked this tweet, which is not only the first hint towards Lex Luthor, who will certainly appear in some capacity in Superman Legacy, but also shows at least a bit of evidence that Dave Bautista might play him, or some other non-Bane, non-physically demanding character. James Gunn was asked if we're going to be seeing any Vertigo characters in the DCU aside from Swamp Thing. He replied by saying that Swamp Thing was actually originally a DC character, even though yes, he was a part of the Vertigo Universe, but also that they are indeed going to be making some other Vertigo related project. For anybody who doesn't know, Vertigo was an alternate, much darker universe that was mostly made up of previously established, more adult DC characters like Swamp Thing, John Constantine, Animal Man, and the Doom Patrol, and later the entire universe of characters, which even before this would sometime cross over to the mainline DC universe somehow, would be fully incorporated into the main DC universe in the New 52. Gunn's reply seems to be framed in a way that hints towards Vertigo original characters, and not characters who were originally from DC. But I don't think there are any of them. I think basically all of the main Vertigo characters debuted as DC characters before migrating over to Vertigo. So let's say he's talking about John Constantine, who has been hinted at before, Animal Man, who has been hinted at before, and would definitely fit James Gunn and what he likes about these universes, and even the Doom Patrol, who has been hinted at before a couple times as well. James Gunn liked the tweet of some cool Clayface cosplay, which is a weak hint, I'll admit, but it is really just a tiny bit more fuel to the Clayface fire after the previous really strong hint, and now I think there's like a 90% chance that Clayface will appear in The Brave and the Bold. Comic writer Tom King, who has a very large influence on the DCU, he wrote Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. James Gunn has said that he's like a consultant for this universe, had an interview where he gave us a bit of news towards the DCU. It might have been a mistake, however, it still exists. In the interview, Tom mentions that James Gunn is writing and directing Superman Legacy. Now, the writing part we already knew. In fact, James Gunn is almost done writing as of a couple of weeks ago, so he may very well be done at this point. As for the directing part, Peter Safran did mention in the past that they want James Gunn to direct, and even before that, it always seemed like the most likely possibility. This, however, is the first official, not really official, but confirmation that Gunn will indeed direct Superman Legacy. And yeah, I think this universe's kicking off point is in very good hands. Tom King also had something to say about Dr. Phosphorus, who will appear as a member of Creature Commandos, saying that he will also appear in a movie. This is interesting because Dr. Phosphorus is a Batman villain, which means that he most likely will make a movie appearance in The Brave and the Bold. But I don't think it's going to be a large role. I think the movie will put the more fantastical elements of Batman as a priority to set itself apart from previous Batman film franchises and even the current Batverse by using villains like the aforementioned Clayface and Dr. Phosphorus, not as main villains because I don't think either of them have main villain potential for this story, but maybe as minor villains that Batman and Robin don't really have much trouble with. to set them truly apart from every other version of a Batman. There was a rumor going around, circulated by Grace Randolph, that a casting call for Superman and Lois in Superman Legacy has been issued, with an age range of between 20 and 30. This was very upsetting to me, because please don't cast somebody who's younger than me to play Superman. Don't cast a 20-year-old. That being said, thankfully Gunn did what he does best, and he debunked this, saying that a casting director hasn't even yet been hired. This also probably means that the script still hasn't been completed, since James Gunn did say in the past that casting will begin once the script is completed. Regardless, casting will probably begin and also be confirmed and announced in the next few months, maybe even sooner. And finally, that brings me to easily the biggest piece of news from the last week. Somebody tweeted out that Wonder Woman has a lot of untapped potential in the form of a cast of characters and stories, accompanied by hashtag Wonder Woman animated series, as well as pictures of Wonder Woman and the Donna Troy and Cassandra Sandsmark versions of Wonder Girl. Gunn replied to this by saying, "Agreed, working on it." My first thought from this is that Gunn isn't at all responding to the hashtag part, and is more so talking about and replying to the tweet talking about the expanded cast of characters being introduced. But that's actually not the case. I'll get to that in a second. I mean, we kind of did already know this, because Paradise Lost will be about the side characters of Themyscira, and what this really is a hint towards Donna Troy and Cassandra Sandsmark, which is supported by Gunn liking a tweet reply from the original poster of an edit of Cassandra Sandsmark. The way I'd go about introducing the Wonder Girls is establishing Donna Troy as an experienced hero who's been around for a while and has already retired from the role of Wonder Girl, and Cassandra Sandsmark is the current Wonder Girl, and maybe even Yara Flor. This is just because of how the Bat family is being introduced. Seemingly Dick is already Nightwing, and I think the rest of the Titans generation, like Wally, Garth, Roy, and Donna, should all be adult and in that stage in their heroic careers, which also means that I would want Wally to be the Flash of the DCU, but that's for another video. Like I said, my initial reaction is that Gunn was not responding to the hashtag in the tweet, but my initial reaction was incorrect. Somebody who had a similar reaction to me pointed out that they don't think they're working on an animated show, just expanding the mythos, because a lot of news articles were coming out about a Wonder Woman animated series in development, but that was never actually confirmed. However, Gunn replied by saying no, they are indeed working on at the very least getting Wonder Woman into more animation, saying that there hasn't been enough of her in that area, and it's one of the first things that he brought up. This practically confirms that there is indeed a Wonder Woman animated series in the works, and very deservedly so. It's crazy how many animated shows Batman and Superman have had, how many other DC characters have had shows like Harley Quinn while Wonder Woman hasn't, so yeah, it's about time. But honestly, I don't think an animated Wonder Woman show should be a part of the DCU, and I don't think it should replace Wonder Woman's movie franchise, because I don't think it'd be a good idea to push a character with as much cinematic potential as Wonder Woman down to an animated series. That's not to say that animated series are a lower art form or anything, absolutely not. DC's animated TV shows have been their absolute peak in the past. My point is that movies make more money and are more mainstream. Wonder Woman is one of DC's biggest characters, whose one non-pandemic affected movie did make a lot of money. I think they should just do both. It's recently been confirmed that the animated series Batman the Caped Crusader was picked up by Prime Video for a 2-season order. A show called My Adventures with Superman was announced a while ago, which is supposed to come out this year, and neither of these shows are a part of the DCU, but also both characters are getting live-action movies as well. Wonder Woman should get the same treatment, an animated series either in its own universe or maybe even the same world as Caped Crusader and or My Adventures with Superman, and then at the same time, a Wonder Woman movie franchise would continue, introduce the Wonder Girls, and be a part of the DCU. This would be the greatest age of being a Wonder Woman fan, with a movie franchise, an animated show, a TV show around her world, and a video game all within the 2020s. Now, most of that is speculation, but what we could take away from this as a fact is that a Wonder Woman animated project is in the works. It could be a movie franchise or a movie series, but it's more likely to be an animated show. We just don't know if it's in the DCU or Elseworlds, but either way, I am pretty excited. Let's also give the Flash and Green Lantern animated series. Green Lantern would be their second one, but the first one didn't really last very long, and then have all 5 of these shows in the same universe. In a new DC animated TV universe, I would be so hyped for that. So that's it for this week of news. Make sure to subscribe for more. Let me know which one of these things you're most interested in and your thoughts on all of them, and thanks for watching.